Good morning. I'm Rowena Crosby.
And I'm Deborah Renner, and we're your co-hosts for this show. Thank you for joining us for the next 17 minutes for your IT show. Nope, we're not talking information technology. We're talking Your Invisible Toolbox, the show that looks at the tools essential for working effectively with others.
Have you ever had one of those days? One of those days when the simplest situation goes wrong. Maybe you get a flat tire and it messes up your day and possibly other people's days. Maybe something didn't make it onto your calendar and you didn't show up for a meeting that you were planning to attend. Or maybe you're standing in line at the grocery store and you find out that you haven't got your debit card with you and you're not able to pay for your groceries. We all have those days.
We've all had them, and in the moment they're very stressful. We sometimes forget about them over time, but we don't forget about the people that might have helped us through those days.
And that's the focus of today's show. We're not going to talk about the stress-ridden situations that we all encounter, but we are going to talk about those people that help us get through them and the impact that that has on us and others.
So today, if you're following along in our book, Your Invisible Toolbox, we're on Chapter 1. It was one of those days. And we're going to take a look at the invisible tool that might be forgotten after you use it, but it's long remembered by those that we use it for.
And our development challenge will invite you to think about how you can give back when you have received a random act of kindness.
And we are so pleased to be joined by Emily Schmidt from Sukup Manufacturing, and she's going to share with us not only the great things their organization is doing, but also what they're doing in terms of giving back.
One of the questions we most frequently get as authors of Your Invisible Toolbox is, what's the most important tool in the book? There's 100 tools in the book. We dodge that question. It's just impossible to figure out which one's the most important. They're all important. But we do have a favorite.
And we can say what our favorite chapter is, and that's the chapter we're dealing with today. It's Chapter 1. It was one of those days.
And we appreciate this chapter not just because it's first, but because it's a tool that's readily available to all of us, and we can choose to use this tool every day.
Mm-hmm. It's a chapter that focuses actually not just on kindness, but a legacy of kindness. And it talks about someone who used a tool that really mattered to someone else, and we can use that tool as well.
And used it frequently.
Mm-hmm.
So we're not going to tell you the story that's in Chapter 1. We're going to invite you to read that yourself. If you've got a copy of the book, please get a tissue and read Chapter 1. If you don't have a copy of the book, if you go out to Amazon, there's a sneak peek opportunity when you're on your laptop and actually can read Chapter 1 right there on the site without having to get the book.
Okay, and you do need to have your tissue.
Yes,
it
you
is
do.
touching and it is motivating at the same time.
And it also speaks to some perceptions and misperceptions we may have about millennials.
You know, millennials have been described as self-absorbed, and actually a Pew Research study had millennials describing themselves, 59% of them, describing themselves as self-absorbed. Also, 43% of millennials weighing in that they think that they are greedy. Isn't that interesting?
Isn't that interesting that they're owning those labels?
Yeah, and is this true? Is this true, or are they just opinions?
Hard to know. We haven't had the passage of enough time to be able to ascribe characteristics to this entire generation. But it is interesting to take a look at the story and realize it may shed a different light on millennials.
Yeah, the story in Chapter 1 does provide some great anecdotal data, and it describes an action a millennial took that would not support the data of being self-absorbed or greedy. Actually, we also know millennials are described as having a keen interest in others, and Matthew, the central person in this story, that's how we would describe him.
So the chapter represents, without question, the power of our invisible tool of the week. Let's take a look at it.
So it's time to present our invisible tool of the week. Now, we've often heard of paying things forward. This tool asks us to do that, but a little more regularly.
And a little more intentionally, it's called surprising somebody with kindness. Why is that important?
Well, research tells us that when we do surprise others with kindness, when we do things for them, it not only affects them, but it positively affects us as well.
Yeah, and our mood, our productivity will naturally increase as well.
And that's the good thing. I just read a Forbes article that said productivity is the lowest it's been in 35 years.
Wow, that's scary.
It is. And the article also said productivity for our employees is down 10% on Mondays and 24% on Fridays.
That's horrifying. So implementing a strategy for kindness, either as an individual or as a team, is really a recipe for improving morale and productivity.
And there's a random act of kindness activist, and her name is
There's
Lee.
an activist
Yes,
for
there
random
is.
act of
There
kindness.
is.
Okay.
Her name is Lee M. Clark, and basically what she has purported is that you don't have to spend money to do this. Actually, in the workplace, employees can give gratitude to each other. They can show interest in each other. Actually, offering to learn something from someone else can be something that expresses kindness to others, and just giving support.
And that's so true. It doesn't require a monetary spend, but it does require for us to be thoughtful and a little bit reflective in our actions.
Absolutely. So let's look at our development challenge of the week.
So our development challenge is what the recipient of the random act of kindness in Chapter 1 did. Jamie Lee Knighton is the millennial, a young woman who was the recipient of that random act of kindness. And she didn't take it for granted. The young man who did this random act of kindness, and so spoiler alert, she learned he died the day after he had done that.
Yeah, and then she went into looking into his life, and she found out that he wasn't just nice to her on that given day. He actually lived his life that way, and people cited all these different instances that he had helped others out. He did that regularly.
He did do it regularly, and having no tangible way that she could pay him back, she got creative and she established a Facebook page called Matthew's Legacy, and it was really to inspire all of us with his legacy to be able to perform random acts of kindness and to really restore faith in humanity. It's really an amazing page. There's a link to it below.
Yeah, and when you go out to that page, it is worldwide. People have responded to that page, and that created what she hoped for, and was a huge tribute to Matthew.
Absolutely. And so we invite you to go out to that page, get your own inspiration, and post the stories that you know. You may post them there or feel welcome to post them on our social media platforms as well.
Well, now it's time to look at our top social media posts of the week. Every week we post useful content, relevant articles about interpersonal skills. It was so hard to choose this week because with this topic there are so many wonderful, inspiring articles out there, but we chose two to highlight.
So random acts of kindness not only are great for the person receiving them, they're also great for the person who's giving them. And so we've posted a link to a Forbes article. The article's entitled The Power of Random Acts of Kindness, and the author, Dr. Judith Orloff, she examines how the impact on emotional health can happen as a result of these random acts of kindness. You'll find that on all Tero social media platforms today.
And our second post is a delightfully, actually funny and meaningful TED Talk by Sean Anker, and it's on happiness and productivity. The talk illustrates that if we change how we think about things, we actually change our ability to be happy in life. Gratitude and random acts of kindness change our brain, and they allow us to get a happiness advantage in life. And so you can take a look at this TED Talk, and it'll be on all social media platforms for Tero on Thursday. And for those of you who are on Instagram, you'll find us out there. We keep saying there's going to be a sneak peek of a book trailer. We're really excited about that.
Watch for it.
There's also background photographs with regards to the show, some great quotes. You can find us on Instagram at Your Invisible Toolbox.
And now it's time for today's interview. We're just delighted to welcome Emily Schmidt, who's corporate counsel and a third-generation member of the Sukup organization. And she's here to talk about how her organization has a real commitment to acts of kindness. But before we talk about that, Emily, first of all, welcome.
Thank you.
Delighted you're here. And I have to tell you, the Sukup End Zone at Iowa State, I've got season tickets for that End Zone, is absolutely a wonderful feature. Thank you to you and your family and your company for doing that.
Of course, yeah. It's no secret that we love Iowa State.
Yes, absolutely. Well, your giving is happening here in Iowa as well as in locations around the world.
Yes.
We're so excited to talk to you. It just fits so much with what we're talking about today. But before we go there, tell us a little bit about Sukup Manufacturing.
Well, back in 1963, my grandpa, Eugene Sukup, was just like any other farmer and tinkering around to solve a problem. He had some moisture clumps in the grain, and he created a stirring machine. And since then, it's grown into 500 employees. We're based in Sheffield, Iowa, still just right where he started it. and we make everything from grain bins to the equipment to take the corn out of it, as well as steel buildings we just got into.
Oh, and those steel buildings, you've created what they call safety homes. And how did you get started with this project? And tell us a little bit about that.
Yeah, back in fall of 2009, our safety director, Brett Nelson, was tinkering around with the idea of making a home for himself out of a bin. And so it was on his mind, and then the earthquake hit in January of 2010 to Haiti. And just 2 days after the earthquake hit, he emailed the CFO, Steve Sukup, saying, how about bin homes for disaster relief? And it just took off from there. A year and a half of prototyping and engineering, and came up with a safety home.
Wow, it's inspiring.
Wow. You know, you're so successful in your industry. You didn't need to get involved in this for awareness. So what was the rationale besides just the problems in Haiti?
Well, just as most great business stories, there was no really thought of why we should do this. It was just a natural thing that happened. We give back in our community a lot, and so giving back on this type of scale is just natural for us. And to be able to help, we didn't know how far it would reach or how many people it would affect, but we just knew it was something that we could easily do.
Oh, so wonderful. And what has been the effect you've noticed on families and I imagine communities?
Yeah, so we didn't know how the grain bin would take off, because we see it as a grain bin. But they've really developed and just taken hold of the home. There's over 200 in Haiti, and it's lockable, it's secure, and they've just really taken off. And they paint them, they do murals on them, so they've really made their own.
Oh, that's so fantastic. You told us a story. Will you share it in terms of what this has meant, not only just to one individual family, but families helping families in times of adversity?
Yeah, so back just this past October, Hurricane Matthew, the eye of the storm was going right over where the homes are. And it was 155 mile an hour winds. And they knew it was coming, and they invited villagers in from the town as well to the Village of Hope. And 60 people rode the storm out in a safety home. And we haven't said it yet, but a safety home is 18-foot diameter bin with a loft covering half of it. So 354 square feet, 60 people.
It's amazing, isn't it?
Wow.
Yep.
Well, and you hadn't hurricane tested these things before
No.
Hurricane Matthew hit, but talk about the success of these.
Yeah, you can always do
Stability.
theoretical calculations of what something withstands. But we knew it was going to be a big hit, and 155 mile an hour winds, and all 200 of them in Haiti survived with little to no damage. Traditional housing in the same areas, 90% were destroyed.
That's just been
That's just
phenomenal.
devastating for the other homes, and so
Yeah.
inspiring for
Yeah.
what you're doing for
Yeah.
those folks.
Now, you're a family-owned business. You're third generation. You partnered as part of this project with GoServe Global, and how has that extended your reach, or what's the reach of these homes now worldwide?
Yeah, no, in this world of interconnectivity, you can do business with a lot of people, but it's who you do business with that I think is the most important. You need to find people with the same values and same missions and philosophies, and GoServe Global has served to be an amazing business or nonprofit to deal with, and they've been able to take off, and they have over 200 in Haiti, there's some in Kenya, there's some in Peru, and they have plans for more in Uganda.
Oh, that's fantastic. And they not only help people in times of like hurricanes, but what other elements might be something that would affect a person's ability to feel secure
Yeah,
in those areas?
there's security issues, just that the windows and doors are lockable, and they're made out of steel, which is something that's just what we make products out of naturally, so that's what we use. But someone tried to get in with a machete, so the steel door is machete proof. We didn't put that in the brochures, but
Good to know.
yeah, so it's machete proof, termite proof, earthquake proof, and it served lots of purposes. But it started off as just in the villages, but then now that they're growing, after they've seen the success of this, you can see them spread out into the landscape now.
Oh, that's fantastic. And we talked about the fact that giving back, it gives to whoever you give to, but it also gives back to you. How has this affected Sukup manufacturing? How have people felt in the fact that they were able to be part of this?
It's just made us just dig our heels deeper and put more into this effort. It's one of those things where you don't know how far it's going to go, but we love giving back, with the End Zone and the Iowa State University, and we always gave back community-wise. But the safety homes have really allowed it to take into a global scale. And so everybody just has taken the idea, and it's no longer an odd concept to have shelter looking like a grain bin.
What a phenomenal result of innovative thinking and giving
Well,
back.
and talk about your dealer response. That
Yeah.
you were mentioning that, and that was just a fascinating thing to hear as well.
Yeah, so our business model is we have dealers all across the nation, and we hear all the time that we can post articles about our products or, million bushel bin, but the ones that they love to hear about is the safety homes. Leading up to Hurricane Matthew and the days after, they were really asking how the homes do, and they always ask us to really put up more stories about those.
This work is so incredible. Thank you so much
Yeah.
for sharing with us. And we will highlight the website so people can go out and take a look at these.
Yes, absolutely. We'll put
Yes.
links to your company website. Kyle will put some photographs in of these homes. And thank you for being our
Oh,
guest, and thank you
yes.
for all that your organization's doing. What a perfect example of random acts of kindness
Yes.
in terms of an organization.
Thank you.
So thank you for joining us today. If you missed any portion of the program, or if you'd like to share it with others, you'll find the entire program loaded up to Tero's YouTube channel. Tune in again next Monday morning at 9:03 Central Time, where we're going to be live again, and we're going to take a look at self-knowledge.
And now it's your turn. We welcome your ideas and suggestions for future shows. What team interactions are you having a challenge with? What leadership situations? Email your ideas to ideas@yourinvisibletooolbox.com, and we'll incorporate them in our future shows. And please join us on whatever your favorite social media platform is this week. If you haven't subscribed to Tero's YouTube channel, please do so. You can follow the link below, and when you do, you'll be alerted to when future shows will air. And again, a thank you to Kyle Plummer, our cameraman and director, and
Thank you to Emily for
Yes.
joining us.
Yes.
And thank you for joining us. And that's a wrap.